welcome to the David Goodman Reality and Truth Show. My name is Benita Lambert, and I just want to say thank you for joining in today. I have some really important information. I'm going to be talking about wills and how important it is to have a will. And some of the things I'm going to talk about is going to really help you. So please share this information. You can follow us on YouTube afterwards if you need to refer anybody. And please subscribe and follow us because we really do appreciate and need your support. So first of all, I just want to start out by thanking everyone here at Soundview Community TV. I like to do that once in a while because sometimes, you know, we take things and people for granted, and I never want anyone to feel that I do that. I am very grateful for this opportunity. I am very grateful for this platform and for Francisco and John and Boomy and Rick and everybody that works here, and every service and job that they perform is really deeply appreciated by me. Also, I'd like to thank the David Goodman family. David Goodman, you know, created this platform for the community to have resources, to have information, and to follow up on promises made. And so, you know, I'm just trying to help carry out that legacy. I was actually invited on the show by my cousin, Glenn Petway, and then I worked with Tony Barr and Charlie Coviello, may he rest in peace. And somehow I ended up with it, and I am really, really glad for, you know, how this all came about. So I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to have you guys as my audience. So I want to, like I said before, every Friday morning, we have Zoom meetings, and we always have somebody come on and they give us some really important information. And this Friday morning, we had a lawyer come on, and we were talking about wills, and we felt like, you know, it's part of my confidential needs analysis that I do with everyone. So I sit down with them and I go over the 4 areas that will affect their lives the most, which are your health care, which is Medicare, long-term care, life insurance, and retirement income. And we ask a bunch of questions in each of those categories so that we could try to help people prepare for the best possible outcome, whether it be a health crisis or, you know, a death in a family, or extending your 401k to make your money last as long as possible, and to prepare for, you know, long-term care, home health care, whether you need to go into a nursing home, and what to do. And, you know, there are so many steps to that. So we provide information in so many different fields of insurance. And a lot of times, you know, as far as legal is concerned, I am not a lawyer, so let me put that disclaimer out there right away. But we network with other professionals, such as lawyers and, you know, and doctors and nursing homes and things like that, to help complete the package for each individual that we sit down. Because I firmly believe that before Flagship Financial Partners and Vanita Lambert sit at your table, I don't think everyone is all set. And that's a line that I stole from Al Ficini. I just don't think anybody's all set, because I sit down with people and I talk to them, and things change over the years, like insurance, for example. Insurance is at the forefront of innovation, and I say that all the time because I'll give you a perfect example. What's happening with the banks right now wouldn't happen with insurance. Banks are FDIC insured up to $250,000. Banks are FDIC insured up to $250 million. So you would have to be like, I don't know, a really a billionaire to consider anything ever happening with your money, like what's happening with like the banks in California. I don't want to get into any details about that because I don't know all the details, but it's pretty disturbing what I've heard so far. So, and it's making a lot of people worry about their money. And, stocks are going down and things like that. So that's a concern. That's a concern. But anyway, let's talk about one of the questions that I ask in my confidential needs analysis. And let's first talk about how all of this came about for Vanita Lambert. 9 years ago, and I've been doing this for 9 years, time is flying by and I love it. I absolutely love it. 9 years ago, I started in the insurance business. It was March of 2014. And I started in the insurance business. I started working for a captive company. And what I mean by captive company is that you can only sell one product, and it's that company's product. That's it. You can't sell anybody else's product. Now I am an independent insurance broker. Now the difference between a captive agent and an insurance broker is agents work for that one captive company and brokers work for the individuals. Okay, I work for you, basically. So 9 years ago, I started in the insurance business, and I was in this business just like anybody else, just to make money, to pay my bills, and that's it. Somewhere, and I kind of like shadowed a manager when I went out for almost 2 years, because it's not something that you could just jump into and learn in a few months. It's way more complicated than that. And, I'm very careful because you're dealing with other folks' health plans. You're dealing with their long-term care plans. For God's sake, you're dealing with their future, their retirement money. So you have to know what you're doing. So I shadowed a manager for nearly 2 years. And even still now, when I sit down and I talk about a plan, a retirement plan for certain people, I'm in a partnership. I always just like to run it by and check with other colleagues that I have just to see what's going on with some of their clients and just to compare it and just have a second set of eyes on what we're doing. It's just, you can never be too careful with someone else's future. That's how I treat everybody else's money, just like I do, lose a cent, and I want to make sure that it is secure and that I'm never going to lose a cent, especially if I'm retiring. So that's how I handle everybody else's. So anyway, getting back to my story, how I started in this just to pay the bills, to make money, somewhere along the line, after about 2 years, I realized that it was more to this job than just making money. It was a lot more to it. I felt like I was improving the lives and families of people. And the reason for that is I would go into their homes and they wouldn't have all of the information. So I am so passionate about information now. And I always have been, but this job makes it even more so because I'm from a community where we didn't have a lot of information. We were left in the shadows. And without the information, you can't take advantage of the benefits. It's as simple as that. If you don't have the information, you don't get the benefits. So I became really passionate about giving out information, which is one of the reasons I love this platform. So I get to talk about things that I've done, experiences, and give out, information. So having come from a community where there was no information, I really wanted to just be out there and help people. And so it felt more like, and I know this is a little strange because it's not a church, I'm not ordained or anything. It feels a little bit like a ministry because I am helping people. And I think that's what ministry, part of the ministry is, not just going to church, but helping the community in other ways. And I was getting hugs from people. Thank you for solving this crazy Medicare puzzle, because there's so many moving parts. And you could look at every commercial in the world, but what I do is I customize the plan for each person with a confidential needs analysis form. And when I do that, or how I do that, is just by asking them questions based on their needs. Are you taking any medications? What are the medications? What are you taking them for? What type of insurance do you have? How much are you paying for it? And then again, a little bit about your income, because there's so many ways that I can help folks that they may not be aware of. So once I ask them questions based on their answers to my questions, they're pretty much telling me what they need. And as an independent insurance broker, not working for that captive company, I have several different companies to choose from. So I'm not trying to fit the person into that captive company. I am fitting the company to that person's needs. So every single plan is customized. And every single question, there's a reason for everything. So in the confidential needs analysis, we go over the health questions, and then we go to life questions. And part of the bottom part of the life questions is, one of the questions on the form is, do you have a will? And I'm going to say 80% of the people that I ask that question to do not have a will. Just do not have a will. And I've heard so many different reasons for why they don't have a will. And I'll tell you mine, okay? My reason, when someone first approached me and asked me if I had a will, this was, my kids were little, my husband and I were struggling, we had a mortgage, we had 2 kids in daycare, and probably behind in a few bills, and just didn't have a lot of assets. I think we had just a house and no other assets at that time. And so I was like, no, I don't have a will, and no, I don't need a will because I don't have anything. And when I was said that, they said, well, don't you have 2 little children? And I woke up and I was like, yeah. They said, if something happened to you and your husband, say you and your husband go to the movies just to take a break or whatever, go on a date or whatever, and God forbid, worst case scenario, something happens, who's going to raise your kids? And I was like, wow, I never thought about. He said, that's your reason for why you need a will. And that started me on to, I got a will. And he told me how I can get a free will. And so that's what I want to tell you. There are ways that you can get a free will. And I feel like everybody needs one, no matter what your circumstance, whether you have kids, don't have kids, have assets, don't have assets. It's just a necessary document to have, and if you could have it for free, it kind of tells, what kind of legacy you want to leave for yourself. Or if you want to leave a legacy at all, it tells your last wishes. And so what I do, one of the services I provide, since it's a question on my confidential needs analysis, I took it upon myself to find out how I can provide a free will to my clients. And so that's what I wanted to go over today, is how to get a free will, because it's part of the questions. I used to refer them out, like, you can call this one and they'll come by your house and set you up and blah, blah, blah. And it just never happened. So now it's part of my package. It's another thing I have in my arsenal to make sure that you are as all set as I could possibly help you with. And that's one of the ways to do it. So if you don't know how to fill out a will, okay, there is a free will questionnaire that comes along with a service. And it will kind of prompt you. It's a template. It just asks you questions, starts out with your name and your address and, just your relatives and things like that. It tells you how to fill out a will. And then once you decide to get the service, then you get the free will. I don't know how much wills cost, and there's probably other ways you could get them. I know you could probably download a template from the internet, fill it all out, and maybe get it notarized, and that could serve as a will. But this is another way that you could do it. You can get a free will along with the service, And the legal service is something that I have had for probably 20 years. And it's something that I use all the time. And it's something that if you don't have it, you may need it and not know that you need it. For example, like just getting stopped by the police for a traffic stop. We know how that can escalate. So having someone to call, saying, hold on a second, officer, let me call my lawyer, they have to actually step back and allow you that phone call. You know, there's so many things that, you know, comes along with this. It's just unbelievable how you can help it, how it can help you. And so I feel like the area that I'm from, the neighborhood that I'm from, there was all kind of things going wrong, and we had no one to call. You don't know how to help yourself because this is not your expertise. I am not a lawyer, so whenever I get in trouble or whenever something goes wrong, if I'm driving down the street and hit a pothole in Bridgeport or in West Haven or wherever I may be, then I know that I need to call my lawyer. Or if I get, or my councilwoman, if I'm in my town, I know who to call because I have learned so much from this. There are tons of services that you can get. You can get a free consultation, letters and phone calls written on your behalf. And I'll tell you, that's very powerful. I'll tell you this story. I was just like any other teenager. When I moved out and got my own apartment, I was 19, 20. I had every credit card in the book. Okay, every credit card, for every store, and I used them all. And at that time, I wasn't very wise. I wasn't being financial smart, I guess I should say. And I got myself in debt, and it turned out I had more debt than I had money. So every time I got paid, my entire check was going to pay my credit cards. And then like any other teenager, I just stopped paying them. I was like, I can't live like this. So I didn't pay them. You know, the bill collectors called me, and that went on for a little while. Then eventually they knew they weren't going to get paid, and it stopped. So let's fast forward 20 years or so. I get a better job, I get some money, I buy a house, I don't have any kids yet, and this, that, and the other. They all tracked me down because now my financial statement was starting to build up, and they all started, bill collecting me again. They were calling me, hounding me. I was trying to pay them. I was, dishing out 500 here, 400 there, whatever. And then I was like, I can no longer do this. I was in trouble. And when you feel like you're in trouble, you need to have somebody to call. So I knew I had this service. I picked up the phone and I called my service, and I was talking about writing letters and having phone calls. So I called them and I told them what the problem was, that these bill collectors were hounding me, trying to make me pay them back thousands of dollars. The bills are like, 15 or 20 years old, and I just went on and on. I was whining over the phone to this lawyer about my problem. And he said, well, stop right there. You said that these bills are, they're credit card consumer bills. They're over 6 years in the state of Connecticut at that time. He goes, you don't have to pay them. They're all written off. They've already been written off a couple of times. So what he did, he wrote a letter to all of these bill collectors, all these bills that I accumulated, when I was young and dumb. And I never heard from them again, and it never showed up on my credit statement. So that's powerful. They saved me a ton of money because I didn't know the law. I don't know the law. And I know a little bit about it, but after working with these people for all these years, I'm starting to learn more and more about the law. So having someone that can write letters for you and stop bill collectors, I think that's pretty phenomenal. And then they will also review personal documents. If you enter into any type of contract, whether, say, for example, it's a life insurance contract, and you enter into it with me, you can fax them up to 15 copies of this document, and they will review it for you and say, okay, this is a scam, this is good, this is no good, or whatever. And we're talking about demand letters, which are credit, mortgages, notes, leases, all different types of contracts. They know the law. And then there's trial defense, protection from domestic violence. Well, all you got to do is dial 911 for that. Don't ever get into that. There's deeds, all types of things. So, I could go on and on about the law, but if you have this service, and you get the free will. One of the things that I really wanted to share with you, this is a freebie, and I learned it this morning, and it's regarding probate. So probate in Connecticut, all of your real property, your real estate property, and your miscellaneous property like your cars, stamp collections, jewelry, and all that stuff, it's probatable. So if something happens to both parties, husband and wife, or just mom or dad or whomever, and all of their assets go to probate, their CDs, money market certificates, bonds, stocks, real estate property, miscellaneous property such as cars, like I said before, stamp collections, expensive jewelry, things like that, goes to probate. There are safe houses. There are things that are not probatable, such as financial contracts like annuities. They are non-probatable. 401ks, 457s, 403bs, they are non-probatable. IRAs and Roth IRAs are non-probatable. You'll have to pay the probate tax on it, but they are non-probatable. But I want to tell you about cars. This is what I learned this morning, and this is a freebie. If you own a car, once you get your car registered, okay, if you flip over, and some of you may know this, I thought it was a huge deal because I didn't know. If you flip your registration over, you can fill out who you like to leave that car to. And if you do that, you sign and date it. If you do that, that car will skip the probate process. I thought that was amazing. And I hope you do too. So that's my free information for today. You can, we have 5 cars at my house. I only have one. My son only has one, but my husband has like 3. He's very special. So we're going to fill out the back of the registration on who we want to leave our car to so that it will skip the probate process. And then if you go down to motor vehicle and register your car within 60 days, you'll just have no problem doing that. So I thought that was phenomenal. That's one way to skip for your cars to skip the probate process. And probate can be very, very challenging, I guess I would say. In the state of Connecticut, all the things that I listed previously are probatable. So what happens if you don't have anybody else's name on your checking account, or if you don't have it properly set up? And these are some of the things that we talked to you about, how it transfer on death. I think that's called a TOD for, accounts to do that. Then they get frozen for 6 months to 2 years. And it goes to probate. Or if you have over $40,000, it goes to probate. What do you do if you have under $40,000? So this is information that can really help you. What goes to probate? It goes to probate for 6 months to 2 years. And during that process, everything is frozen, especially houses. So if I leave my house to my 27-year-old son, who cannot afford to pay the mortgage or the taxes or, just the utilities in Connecticut, because the pipes will freeze if you don't put, gas or oil in the tanks. And if I don't leave behind enough money for him to maintain all of the real estate that we have, he could lose it during probate. Because even though it's in a probate process, you still have to pay the bills. You can't sell the house, you can't rent it, you can't do anything like that, but you're still responsible for the bills. You're still responsible for paying the taxes and the homeowner's insurance and the mortgage, if there is any, and utilities, of course, so that your house doesn't, the pipes don't explode in the winter, or you can see in the winter by putting on the lights. Those things still have to get done. And if those things are not taken care of during that probate process, if you don't pay your taxes, we all know that you're going to lose the house to that city. And that's as simple as that. So if you ever hear about, my friend was going through probate and I don't know what happened, but he lost his house or he lost his rental property, that's the reason why. So if you're in that situation, or if you know someone that's in that situation, or to prevent from getting into a situation like that, the one thing you can do is protect yourself and your family and your nest egg with life insurance. Life insurance is non-probatable, and the way you determine how much life insurance you need is by your assets. If you have $100,000 worth of rental property, then you may need $100,000 worth of life insurance to pay the bills on that property for 2 years or until that probate process is up. It's just, knowing what to do is really important, and knowing how to do it is really important, and knowing how to protect yourself and to protect your family, and just knowing how to have things set up. Me and my husband right now, we're in the process of talking about, power of attorney. Who are we going to have for, so you need a medical power of attorney and a financial power of attorney. We have 2 sons, so we're going to name one of them for each of those services. And, unfortunately, I am out of time. I would love to talk to you more about this. And if you need more information, just call, text, or email me, and I'll be happy to give you all this information absolutely free, because I am just compassionate about giving out information, and I know that it's going to help somebody. So listen, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have a great weekend. Follow us on YouTube. And this is the David Goodman Reality and Truth Show, and we're on your side.